I find that West Virginia Pepperoni Rolls is a great example of Appalachian baking. It takes necessity and convenience and just rolls it into this nice little warm package of deliciousness. Here are your ingredients, but don't worry, I'll include a link below with full nutrition information and more details. Okay, the first thing I've done is I've taken yeast, which is 1 teaspoon or 3.5 grams, and I have dissolved it into 1/2 cup of water, which is 120 milliliters. Then a large bowl, I have 2 cups of flour, which is 300 grams, and to that I'm adding in 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 grams, and 2 tablespoons of sugar, which is 25 grams. The sugar is only for browning purposes. To that I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of oil, which is 30 milliliters, and 1 egg, which is 50 grams. These 2 ingredients really help the dough be soft and supple. And then I'm adding in the yeast mixture. And I'm just going to stir this with the back of a spoon until it is shaggy, and then I'm going to turn it out onto a work surface, and I'm going to knead it until it is nice and smooth and elastic and can stretch easily without tearing. This will take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if you're new to kneading. And if you need a little more help on how to knead dough, I will include a link below that will give you a video that goes through the process a lot easier. However, feel free to use a stand mixer if you want, and if you do use a stand mixer, put it on the appropriate speed for 8 to 10 minutes or until it's nice and smooth and elastic. You are then going to shape it into a ball like this and see how it just holds its shape really well. And if you stretch it, it just really stretches nicely for you. This is what you're looking for. It should really be a nice pliable dough that holds its shape well, and you can really just stretch it until it doesn't want to tear easily. If it's tearing easily, you need to knead it a little further. You're going to put this in a bowl that is greased or sprayed with non-stick cooking spray, and you're going to cover it. And you're going to leave it for 60 to 90 minutes or until it's at least double in size. And I'll show you what it looks like in just a little bit. But you don't have to grease your bowl, it just helps it slide out easier when you're ready to use it. This particular dough recipe is one of my favorites. It makes everything from hamburger buns to bread that you can slice and make grilled cheese with. It's absolutely beautiful. It's not too wet, it's not too heavy. It's just like the perfect texture and consistency for just a normal white bread. Once this is completely risen, we're going to go on to the next step. We're going to divide this dough into 5. You can eyeball it or you can use a scale. I recommend weighing everything if you can, but if not, it's not a big deal. Just divide it by 5. And as you can see, if I press onto it, it holds the indentation but doesn't collapse completely, which means it is ready. You're going to need a baking sheet, and if it's not nonstick, you're going to need to line it with something, either silicone or parchment like I did there, and set it aside. And again, I am just going to weigh the dough completely to see how much it weighs. I think it's around 500 grams. And then I'm going to divide it equally into 5 pieces. I'm not going to make you watch this completely, so just eyeball it or weigh it out. You may need some flour as dusting if you're new to shaping dough. You may not. I'm just going to set it aside and see how we go. It shouldn't need any, but some people feel more comfortable. And then I'm just going to gather in all the sides, and I'm going to roll it and make it into a round circle. And this just creates some tension and also helps make it look prettier when you go to use the dough. Do this for all 5 pieces. Okay, once you have that all together, you're going to decide if you want to use slices or sticks. I'm using slices, and I'm going to press the dough slightly bigger than the size of the pepperoni slice. That's about 4.5 inches or about 11.5 centimeters. And I'm just going to set it aside and let it relax a little bit. And I'm going to do this for all 5 pieces again. And if you look, you can see the dough actually shrinking a bit. That is why I'm going to cover it and let it rest for 5 minutes. I didn't use that flour, so I'm just going to put it away and come back. It's been 5 minutes. So now we are going to put in the pepperoni and just give it a nice little press down to let that gluten stretch out a little bit more, and put this pepperoni in the center. For each roll, you want to use between 1/2 to 1 ounce of pepperoni, whatever you like. That's 14 to 28 grams. Fold it in thirds. Bring down the top and then bring up the bottom and pinch the dough together. Then bring in the sides. If you're having any difficulty getting this to stick, you can use a little bit of water and just lightly brush on the sides and then it will work. Pat it down and then flip it over. I will show you again how to do this with one more piece and then we will move on to the next step. Again, just press it down a little bit bigger than the size of the pepperoni. And I'm going to use 2 slices here, which equals 1 ounce. And I don't recommend any more than that because if you do, the oils tend to seep out of the bottom really bad and makes a mess. Fold it down 1/3, bring up the bottom, fold it up, press it in, then bring in the sides. Again, if it's not sticking, you can use a little bit of water to help you get it to stick together. Press it down really well and then pinch it together if you need to, and then just seam side down and repeat that process. Then we're going to put it on our baking tray. Again, if it's not non-stick, you're going to want to line it with either parchment paper or a silicone mat. And then just arrange these about a 1/2 inch apart, which is somewhere around 1.25 centimeters. And that will let them touch together. If you don't want them to touch together, obviously center further apart. And then we are just going to cover these. You can use cling wrap or you can use a dry cloth. I'm using both so that I can recycle the cling wrap that I used earlier. And then you are just going to let these sit for 1 hour. When there's 15 minutes left, you want to preheat that oven to 350 or 180 C. Make sure to remove the cling wrap if you're using it before putting it in the oven. And you're going to bake these 15 to 20 minutes or until golden brown like this. You can bake them a little bit longer if you like them darker or not. You want to remove them from the parchment paper and let them cool completely. See how it seeped out a little bit? That is because I didn't have them completely sealed, and that happens sometimes. It's okay. It'll still taste absolutely delicious. Let's cut it into one of these so you can see what a pepperoni roll looks like. And let me tell you, this is absolutely heavenly. The grease from the pepperoni seeps into the bread if you added just the right amount of pepperoni, and it's not too greasy. It's just the right amount. And if you did it right, you shouldn't have too many pockets of air in between it. Sometimes it will happen. It should be a very soft, tender dough that rips apart easily. And look at that grease in there. It just gives a real depth of flavor to that dough. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Visit us at jacksonsjob.com, and as always, happy baking.